Every sacrifice is not on the same level. There are different levels of obedience. We don't obey God on the same level. And that is why God does not respond to everyone on the same level. It's okay to say that God loves everyone, but I can tell you that God does not respond to everyone on the same level. There are men and women who have touched the heart of God on a different dimension. And it's by sacrifice that we enter that dimension. It's by covenant that we enter that dimension. Tears in the physical, they are interpreted as blood in the spirit. And anytime God sees blood, He gives you attention. The Bible says, I want you to pay attention. I'm about to tell you the greatest secret that God revealed to me. The greatest secret God showed me is covenant. And you cannot cut a covenant without spilling blood. There is no covenant without blood. Anytime you hear the word covenant, know that blood was shed. Now, when Jesus went to the garden, the Bible says Jesus went to the garden of Gethsemane to pray. He separates himself to go and pray. And while he was praying, the Bible said that the sweat coming down or flowing from his skin was like thick of blood. So that sacrifice in the garden through his prayer was interpreted as blood in the spirit because there was a sacrifice. Anytime you obey God at a certain level, there's a level of obedience that you strike. In the spirit, God sees blood spilled. I want you to pay attention. This is the greatest secret that God revealed to me. Covenant is the greatest secret. Now, I entered into a covenant at an early age, and for the past 20-something years, God has been teaching me on the principles of covenant. When God told Abraham, take your son, your only son, and go offer him at a mountain I will show you. Now listen to this. Some of you think that Abraham did not kill Isaac, but I'm here to shock you. Isaac was killed. Yes, Abraham killed Isaac in the altar of his heart. And when God saw that Isaac was killed or slaughtered in the heart of Abraham, he saw blood. When God sees obedience at a certain level, he sees blood spilled. So God told Abraham, now listen to this, he said, now I know that you obey me. Now I know you love me. And he released, he said, I vow that in blessing I will bless you. So to show that Abraham offered the sacrifice, God released a sworn blessing. So anytime you obey God at a certain dimension of sacrifice, you attract a sworn blessing. I remember something I did when I was 16 years old. There was something I did for God, and that was way back in Nigeria. Still a teenager then. And God said to me, I think that was the first time I heard the voice of God clear. He spoke and he said, I vow I will bless you. I was a little boy back in Nigeria. Just lost my father then. My family was struggling. And God gave me a sworn blessing. He said, I vow I will bless you. And that is why, sometimes when certain things, God did something for me one time, and, I was asking him, I said, Lord, why did you do this for me? He said, because your father did something for me. He offered a sacrifice for me. He fed the men of God. Now, there are sacrifices you offer to God that will speak on your children and speak on your children's children. Whenever God, when God blesses certain people in the Bible, he normally tells them, because of your father. When God was blessing Solomon, he said, because of your father David, I will do this. Let me go back to my topic. I don't want to be carried away. To enter into a dimension of covenant with God, to be a friend of God, because we become friends of God by covenant, by spilling blood. I don't mean killing somebody. I mean obedience, by a dimension of obedience. For God to call you his friend, he will give you a strong and a difficult instruction to test your faith. God does not enlist people as his friend casually. He will give you a difficult instruction. In one of the videos I did, I told you I gave God my savings probably 3 or 4 times in my lifetime. A time came in my life I didn't have savings. I didn't have savings because anytime I save money, God will say, pack the money and give to so person. You enter into covenant by sacrifice. There must be something to make you cry to be called a friend of God. There must be something. You don't hear God casually. God does not appear to people casually. There are people that see God face to face in their room. It's by covenant that we enter into that realm. Echoes of blood. The tears of obedience, they are interpreted as blood in the spirit. So when God tells you, take your car, your only car, and sow as a seed in your church for church building, he's testing your faith. He wants to see, can you be my friend? Can you offer your only Isaac on the altar of your heart? So when God tells you, build me a church, there is a generational blessing that follows a man that built a church. If you are listening to me and you built a church for God, listen to this. If you are listening to me and you invested your money to build a church for God, there is a generational blessing that follows you. The generation won't finish with it. It will run down your generation. That was the kind of blessing God released on Solomon when he built the temple. We become friends of God by spilling blood. And what do I mean by spilling blood? By entering into a covenant by obedience, by sacrifice. Now, your sacrifice may not be something physical. I'm not talking about giving God money here. It's not just about money. Now, your sacrifice could be consecration, purity. Your sacrifice could be serving in church. It could be, as simple as going out on evangelism. It could be as simple as intercession. But anything you do for God that strike a level of obedience is interpreted as blood. Anything you give to God and made you cry is interpreted as blood in the spirit. When God sees that act of obedience, he's seeing blood. He's not seeing sacrifice. He's not seeing your act of obedience. He's not seeing, just that you give God your money. He's not seeing money. God doesn't need your money. There's no currency in heaven. But when he sees an act of obedience, maybe you fed a man of God, you took care of somebody, orphans and motherless babies, or maybe widows, there's a level of sacrifice you hit in the spirit. You become a friend of God. And you become a friend of God by covenant. And covenant is shedding blood. And blood is when it's painful, when it made you cry. David said, I will not give to God a sacrifice that is easy. He said, I won't give God anything that costs me nothing. If it costs me nothing, I won't give it to him. When Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray, the Bible said that the sweat flowing from his skin was like thick of blood. He was praying and sweat was dropping like blood. So God was seeing blood already. I told somebody, Jesus didn't die on the cross. He died in the garden. When Jesus said, Father, let this cup pass from me, that was when he died. He said, but not my will. Let your will be done. The moment he said, Father, not my will, let your will be done, that was the shedding of blood. That was the death of Jesus. So what you saw on the cross wasn't the death of Jesus. That was a demonstration of what happened. It's a reflection of what happened in the garden. Echoes of blood. When you offer sacrifice on earth, when you obey God at a certain level, In the spirit realm, God is seeing blood. He's seeing a shedding of blood. He's seeing a covenant that you are cutting with him. Don't stop obeying God. Blood is the most powerful thing in heaven and on earth. Now let me conclude with this. When Lucifer wanted to overthrow God, when there was war in heaven, the Bible says, and there was war in heaven. When there was war in heaven, the only thing that could stop Lucifer, the only thing that could defeat Lucifer was the blood. The Bible said they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. The blood. Nothing could stop Lucifer. Nothing except the blood. There's power in blood. And you trigger blood by obedience. You trigger blood by sacrifice. When God tells you to do something, he's testing your faith to see if you could be his friend. You enter into covenant with God by shedding blood. And it's painful to shed blood. Obedience is blood. God bless you.